All right, welcome folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. It's going to be Friday, 5/28/21 at about 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, coming to you from the great state of Texas. So this morning I'm sporting, you guys see this little lanyard thing on me here. I'm sporting the tactical puppy pouch. So I've got one here live and keeping me busy. So I didn't want to put her on the floor just because of the risk that she would probably start tearing down some lights and stuff like that. But you guys can see there's an actual puppy in here. So kind of like a Joey pouch. It's kind of an interesting gig, but she typically goes to sleep as soon as you put it in there. But today she seems to be awake. So pray for me to get through this SITREP undisturbed. All right. So without further ado, let's get on over to our board here. Now for this morning, this is going to be a shorter than usual SITREP. I'm just going to go over a couple things. We do have some new activity that went into the spa this morning, and I want to just kind of back into that and show some commonality between that aircraft and another one just a couple of days ago. And we're going to look at some of these spy craft because I want to point out a couple things based on data that we've been reading about them, kind of doing some research on them and some of their activity, as well as some of the stuff that's been going on over the Phoenix area. So, all right. So that said, we've got, it looks like Night Watch just landed front and center right there in the middle of the U.S. So he's gray and on ground. And if you notice, we got all these trains. We got something going on out here. That's probably the U.S. Air Force Academy, but these are all BE-40s, which is kind of interesting. But I guess they're using these for trainers. But you can see there's like 8 of them coming out of there. Looks like all of them are taking off right about now too. You got them here in the Oklahoma area, also all running trains, and same with this one here. So it looks like we basically hit them right at their launch time today. And that said, it's a little light. Now I do have persistence on for a Friday morning. I'm a little earlier than I usually am, but sitting at 173 this morning. And let me see if that's our P8 that we normally get. Yeah, so there's going to be a little P8 activity off the coast of Florida. As you can see, they're actually running some routes out there. So not sure what's going on. Maybe they're dropping a boom and doing some comms with the sub, or they're sub hunting, one or the other. But they normally, when they're hitting right here like that tight circle, that means they're right over target, right? They've got something in their sights. That's why they're doing it. When you see it spread out and doing a lot of this, they're looking. Okay, so it looks like this was maybe a little bit of a marshalling pattern, and then they came back and found them, and that's what they're doing here. So all right, so that said, that's going to be our P8 this morning off the coast of Port Canaveral. And let me back up just a tad. Now if we look at Flashbang's schedule for today, let me back that up. Okay. And it looks like, so yesterday we saw the temporary flight restriction, the TFR over Virginia. And so this makes sense here. So it looks like today around 11:45 Eastern, Flashbang will be rolling out headed to Hampton, Virginia. And then, of course, they wrap the day up in Wilmington. And so that would kind of reflect what our map is going to show us this morning as well. And so you're noticing that's going to be the Flashbang TFR there, and this is where they're headed today. Okay, and so that is still in play. Now you can see there's a little one inside the circle that's gone red. That's going to be for an air show. I think it's coming up, Memorial Day weekend air show. Same with these. It looks like we've got most of those air shows were all presets for this coming 3-dayer. So even down here in Florida, and Beale Air Force Base is just a regular. And this one, that's kind of a weird. Now that is an air show, believe it or not. That box yesterday was a little wonky, and today it looks like it's expanded a little more square. I don't know why they didn't just do a round circle. Pretty specific. So okay, that's going to be our TFRs, and really not too much out there other than air shows and fires for the most part, and then a couple things for Flashbang. So as we go over to our map, you will see we've got 8 active volcanoes, and I'm really surprised we haven't gotten to 10. Although again, these are ash spewers, so there's probably a couple put us higher than 10 if we're just looking at the actual lava activity in conjunction with this. But We've got our regular out here, which is going to be in Japan, and that's the Jima one, the S Jima, and then we've got this one. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it now. I thought that was going to be the Dukono volcano, and it doesn't. That's another one, so a little different. So it looks like they've swapped in and out. Okay, and then if we go over here to Central America and down, we have looks like we've got 4 of them along the lines here. Now this one really seems to be pushing out a fair amount of ash cloud. So that's a pretty good size ash cloud coming out of there. Then we have this one over in Africa this one's kind of interesting because the ash cloud, it's really a lava producer, but to see the lava at night, like the entire sky is just bright red, and then you've got this actually spewing ash. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic there. I mean, that's what you really expect to see from a volcano, not one or the other, but both. But it looks like it's pushing a fair amount of ash in that area. Now you've got an aircraft actually kind of punching right into that little corner of that. So I guess maybe that's a specific altitude that they're watching for. So, okay, and then we've got Etna up here in Italy. Back out, and you can see that one is still actively spewing as well. So now you're going to notice too, we've got 4 of the goon balloons, I guess is what you want to call them. So we've got 2 that are up still. That's 518 and 541 that are still up over the Dakotas. That's just in the corner of South Dakota. So we're going to kind of zoom in on this and just see what they're up to. But it looks like they're pretty specific, and kind of that's Sioux Falls right here. So they're kind of hanging out. Looks like he's starting to push a little south, and that one is as well. And actually, no, notice how that one's coming in from another area. And so the way these things are driven is they have like a I guess it's a programming GPS, and they just put in a coordinate, and the thing just goes to that location. So they aren't just out there floating around randomly, okay? And you can see that one actually made its way across. Oh, all the way across. I mean, that's pretty good from Montana all the way over. And at 6 miles an hour, that takes a while to get there. So, and then the other 2 are out here over Hawaii, and we saw them yesterday. Now, this is the Big Island, okay? And so looks like they were actually perving out there on the beach there at the Big Island. And we've got this one. Let's see what that one came from. And that one just kind of worked its way down. So they've got something they're looking at out here over the water. They lost their purpose for being communications in terms of internet providers in January 2021. And then a new company basically took this whole program over, and now they are surveillance and intelligence. And that's why you only see 4 of them up, although there are probably anywhere from 30 to 50 up actively around the world right now. Okay, now let's break over to Guantanamo Bay. First, we're going to look at the flights, and then we're going to go to Guantanamo Bay because I'm going to show you something. So this is going to be N312FU. Now on the 26th, now remember, this is the Maxwell bird. On the 26th, this one went from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, over to this particular island in the Bahamas. And now I'm pointing this out because this was only a couple of days ago. Today's 20th. So 2 days ago, this one went to this location, which is pretty specific. And when I show you the location, you're going to be like, that's a very small little dot of an island, almost all runway. And you can see just a direct shot, okay? Now, what I want you to notice is that well, since then, it's actually gone back and forth a couple different places. Right now, it's back down in Colombia, okay? And that was, it actually departs. I think that's actually a future departure. Just double check. Yeah, 45 minutes. And then it heads from Lauderdale down to Colombia. And now, that said, let me get over here to NBW because I actually meant to pull that one up, and I bounced off of it for a minute because I was looking at these other things. So, but this morning at 6:30 a.m., it departed from Lauderdale, same airport, and this is going to be that jet that came in last Tuesday and rolled into the spa. And so, if we look a little closer, you can see there it is right there on the board. And again, this is a beautiful looking jet, but it's gonna kind of stand out because Actually, I ended up clicking on all the jets that are live. Let me get on the tail number. But this one you're going to notice because that is kind of a cool looking jet. It's got kind of a very unique, you can kind of see almost like a wave, a gray wave there and an orange wave kind of over the tail. So if that one's, taxiing or parked on a runway, you're probably going to catch your eye. It's, like I said, it's a very good looking aircraft and super functional. And the reason we're watching is because it popped into our spa on Tuesday, but then again, it came back again this morning. Now, here's the interesting thing about this, and the reason I want to point that out is because I want you to look at the flight path. Now, I was looking at it this morning. Okay, first of all, yesterday it flew went from Boca up to Baltimore, Washington. Then from there down to Boca, right? So it did a return flight. So it picked somebody up in Baltimore, came back, right? And then from there it went over to Lauderdale. Now that's going to be your staging location. They've got an operation, I think, running out of Lauderdale where they have the ability to hold people or, keep them out of sight. And then they just put them right onto this runway. And then here in Lauderdale, and then out the door they go to the bay. Okay. Now, what was interesting this morning is that this plane actually deviated from that flight path. I know it says it was actual, but there was a flight filing when I looked at it that went to that same island. And then it was, so yesterday it was this was the flight pattern. You can see that little blue line that runs there. And this morning, when I went onto my mobile app, this bad dude went from here over to that little island out here, okay? And then it went over to here. And somehow, don't ask me how, this thing is now showing just as direct. It has no record of it going over here this morning. But that is the location it went to. And I actually have it on my phone. And I was actually sharing it on Patreon with folks this morning because it was a funky flight pan. It went over to this island and then it came down. So, but it's just an interesting thing that they have changed it again yet, and now it just shows it direct, but that's okay. All right, something definitely was up, something a little strange there. I'm going to show you this island, by the way, as we go into this. But this is the island that they've been going to. All right, now notice it's like desolate. There's really nothing out there. Supposedly, there's 3,200 people that live on this island. All right, and I don't know where they are. We'll get a little closer. Maybe there's some homes in here. I wouldn't think they're going to be like full-time residents there, but this is the location they're rolling in and out of, and you can see it's pretty much just a runway in the middle of the Atlantic or Caribbean here, right? And nothing really out there. I mean, this is just kind of one of those little tiny places. And from there, there's Nassau, okay? And so they come out of Lauderdale, they fly into here, and then that was from there down to here into Guantanamo Bay. But this plane is kind of interesting because they've picked somebody up in Baltimore, Washington. I don't know who it is, but somebody got picked up here, brought to Boca, and then from Boca they hopped them over here to Lauderdale. And so notice the downtime on the ramp right here. So there may have been another person in Boca that they grabbed and put on the plane. Although I don't know why they wouldn't just drive them, because the distance from Boca to Lauderdale is pretty stinking close. And so, I mean, you can look at that. The air time, it's like 11 minutes. I mean, by air, they probably, matter of fact, let's just look at this they fly out. It takes more time. I mean, you could literally drive that probably in about 20 minutes. It's not that far, really, maybe 30 minutes. But that's relatively close, right up the road. Okay. Now, that said, again, it looks like they picked somebody up. So they rolled out of DC, landed at 6:22 in Boca, and at 20 minutes later, they went from Boca, same day, to Lauderdale, and then they parked until this morning. And then this morning, boom, they flew out. Now, I wish I'd have posted, because I could have shown you the other flight log that they posted, and now it just has this, which is really, really strange how that deviated. But all right, nonetheless, let's move on. We're going to talk a little bit about some of these spy planes. All right. And so yesterday, as we were looking, there's a secondary one. So actually, this is the first one we looked at. And you'll notice it landed about 16 hours ago, but this is that pattern. It looks like shoelaces, okay? Now, I was making a comment that, hey, Trump's in Jersey. They're in Jersey. I think Trump is actually about here. And that's about from there to there, as the crow flies, it's like 125 miles, okay? A little bit out of the range, maybe not. I mean, these things have some pretty incredible capability. And so let me show you just what we're talking about here. But that's not what I was trying to show you. Hang on. Wrong one. This is what I wanted to show you. Okay. This is going to be that Army aircraft. Now, this is a Dash 8, but it is highly, highly modified. And you can notice all the little boxes and stuff that hang off of this. And here you've got this little dome in the back. Now, looking at it, it is tied to the Spectre, I think it is. And we'll look at that here in a second because I'm going to show you. The Drive actually did a big article on this, but you see the little doghouse on top? All these extra little radar or antennas, sorry, not radars, but antennas, they're all over this aircraft. That thing is like the juggernaut of spy planes, okay? It is small, got good hang time. It can just kind of hang in an area for a long period of time, almost like the drones, but of course it's manned, and of course it's got a full crew on board. But it has all those capabilities like the DRT, the Stingray, and it has the ability to just basically pull a sea of data out of whatever's in the range. Now, based on the commercial information that I got and from a former DRT person, I was told that the DRT, the dirt box is what they call it, had about 20-mile range. I will tell you that's just basically, I mean, that's a pretty good range at 10,000 feet. That's about where they kind of operate and hang for I think for their optimum gathering. However, I will tell you, with all this extra stuff on it, there's no telling what this plane can do. And as we get into, when I show you what the Drive has written up about it in terms of an article, you'll see what I mean. But so this is the aircraft. This is the location. All right. And now they have been hitting this location. They're not rolling out of New Jersey. They're rolling out of down here in Manassas. Okay. And so they fly out of Manassas. They roll out over into this general area. And they've been doing it now. If you go back and look, they've been doing it all the way at least to the 17th. Same thing, same flight. If I go all the way back to 17th, exact same thing, shoestrings, right? And so you can see they were doing it there too. Now let me go pull. I'm going to look for further flight history and see how far back this thing actually goes. There's May 5th, and let me see if it's doing it on May 5th as we kind of bump into it. All right, come on. And you can see it's doing the round circles, not the shoestring stuff. Okay. Now remember, Trump is up here, so that's probably, they've got something they're doing in this general area, but that's like 100. Well, it's not. That's less than 100 miles. That's probably more like about 50 to 85 miles probably from there, because the spot I was hitting was in here. But that's still, with all that technology, that's probably within, I would say, a stone's throw. These guys have a lot of capability, and I'm going to show you that again here in a minute. But that goes all the way back to, that's the 5th of May. So for the whole month. And again, it probably keeps on going. Let's get into March. I'm just going to do a spot check. I will go back to 12 March and see if they're still doing. So it looks like a different area and zone. But again, boy, that's what they're doing, gathering data. Okay. So let's get over to its sister ship, which is R50348. And that, now remember, we left off on the 12th. They were in that general area. Different aircraft now. All right, same thing. They're flying these circles. They're gathering data, man in the middle stuff. And let me go back to May 4th. We'll see. They're probably still, oh no, different spot. So look, shoestrings over here now. All right. So yeah, this is, these guys are definitely gathering data on people throughout the area. So that's 3 weeks ago. And so those are two big time spy planes. All right, now let me go over here to where I was going to show you. That's Phoenix. We'll come back to that. Now, the Drive did a big article about this back in February 20th, 2018. And I'd actually read this before, but I didn't put two and two together until I started tracking, the PC-12s that were running over Phoenix and started learning about Dirtbox and all these other capabilities. But this RO-6A, it's a Dash 8 de Havilland, and it's a RO-68 spy plane, really is what it is. And it's probably one of the most powerful spy planes in the arsenal that we have, outside of probably a drone or something along those lines, because this thing is a new one. Okay, it's got a lot of stuff that others don't. I mean, look at these little things just off the nose alone. It's wild. I don't know what it does, but all of these, like these dog houses, these are all made for gathering. Right here it says it's intelligence, reconnaissance, and surveillance aircraft, and it has it's known for the electro-optical, infrared, and hyperspectral cameras, wide area surveillance systems, imaging radars, and signal intelligence gear. And so they started entering service in 2020. So that's probably one of your newest aircraft that are out there right now in terms of the surveillance fleet. Most of these others have been out for a little while. Okay, engines are going to be those PT-6As. They're a workhorse. They put those on just about everything. But there's your aircraft there. Okay, but let me get on down in here now. When I start looking at some of this stuff right here, I will tell you there's a lot of stuff. When I looked at the logbook for the Phoenix bird, there's a lot of commonality in here in terms of stuff that has been loaded onto aircraft. Now that one doesn't have nearly what this one has. Okay, but there's some stuff in there. But here's the thing I wanted to point out as I get down. Sorry, hopefully I won't make you guys seasick. But this prism system. Okay, now remember FISA. Okay, there's your prism thing. Notice this was an old, now this is an article from the Drive, and so that is no longer, but that right there means no foreign, and that's top secret. So this thing is basically highly classified, or it was, but that prison system ties into the counterterrorism and all of the NSA stuff. Okay, so if you ever seen Enemy of the State, this is like that on steroids. But notice this here talks about the FISA. Okay, same with this, and these people are spying on the U.S. people, and whether you may just get caught up as collateral in it all, but yeah, this is a high-tech spy machine. Okay, all right. Now that said, let me get back over to our deal here. But that ought to give you just a clear eye on, you got two tail numbers now, and you can pretty much watch them as they engage against the U.S. citizens, and they've been very active. And like I said, this was 3 weeks ago. If you go all the way back, let's say the 25th, which was Tuesday, here we are again, and just north of the DC area. Okay, and it's incredible. But yeah, that right there, a little circular pattern, that's what they're doing. All right, they're just flying out and gathering and coming back. But here's the thing with those aircraft. If you happen to be in that general area and they're gathering intel on somebody, you're going to get caught up as collateral in that. They're not that surgical where they're just going to ping one. They're probably just doing a land grab, and then it all goes back to a live analyst or a desk, an analyst desk with a bunch of guys that are just basically analyzing all the data that comes in. So just keep that in mind, okay? All right, now let's get over to the other piece that I want to talk about. Well, let's look at Phoenix real fast. I will tell you the last 3 days in Phoenix, they have been conducting surveillance over there. And so this was yesterday. And of course, you guys saw in my show, just yesterday's show was the day before. So we are now Friday, so we've got them here on Thursday, Wednesday, and Tuesday. I couldn't find anything on Monday, but I bet if I looked harder, I probably could find them. But same aircraft. Now, here's the tail number. I don't know how this person was able to get this, but this is N620FB. Now, when I go to pull it, it tells me that it's been blocked. I can't see it, that the owner has blocked that request. But here's your historical data right here. So 5/27/21. and UTC 0125. So if you were to go in the Wayback Machine on flight radar 24, you would basically you'd be able to see that, okay? And so that's just kind of gives you that, because it runs off of UTC time, okay? So that just goes to confirm every day this week, while the audit's going on in Arizona, they are continuing to pull data and push data, okay? So that's your government at work, folks. Okay, now speaking of government at work, let's go take a look at the immigration flights. And I want to point out a couple things, and then we're going to wrap up, all right? Now this is El Paso to Long Beach. So border town, headed to Long Beach. And as you can see, now that was landed 53 minutes ago. So that's this morning, all right? And so they are actively pushing people. McAllen, that's another border town, to El Paso to Long Beach. You can go back, just watch this thing. It's they're flying folks back and forth. All right. Now, let's get over here to the live birds, and I will show you. The board was pretty active this morning, but notice how these flights are all headed down here into Central America. So let's go over here and look at this. Now, this is kind of an interesting thing. You've got, let me see here. Now, this morning when I looked at it, these are more active than it was this morning. It was all border towns. And now it looks like they're actually moving on to the next location within that. But yeah, so we've got, as we look, all right, puppy, I'm going to let you out of that bag. Don't mess with me. All right. Okay. So we've got, looks like one up in Canada that went to Greensboro. We've got San Antonio to Columbus, Georgia. We've got Alexandria, Louisiana to Guatemala. So that one went from, now that's the one I think we looked at the other day. So that they're actually taking people, actually flying down to Guatemala. And this one looks to be coming from San Pedro up to, where did they head to? Let's pull on that one real fast. I'm just going to take a look at that particular flight. But en route currently, all right, Honduras up to Ecuador. So they're moving people around. So these are the same planes, though. Again, this is Swift Air. And again, this morning, now I will tell you, I should have grabbed a screenshot, because this morning when I looked at these, they were all down in like Brownsville and all border towns, El Paso. And this looks like they've landed and now they're off to their next leg. And, but it's absolutely crazy. Now this is, I think, where a lot of the hub is coming out of is this Kentucky airport. All right. That's where most of the activity, they seem to be processing through there. Now, if we look at this McAllen one, let me just pop that in from Phoenix to McAllen, currently en route. But McAllen, Texas, again, right here, that's a border town, and it's inbound. So it's probably picking up more people, and then it'll be heading out. So, but you can see, again, Phoenix, San Diego, Brown. So this is where, on the 7th, you can see again, they've been doing this for a while, but right there, border town, and it took them up to Phoenix, Arizona, right there. Okay. Future voters. So, all right. Now that said, let me bump over here. I'm going to look at Europe real fast, and then we'll wrap us up. Okay. Europe's pretty busy. I do have persistence on. I was actually watching some cool activity just a few minutes ago, but let me turn persistence off and see if they still hang out. But pretty busy this morning. We had several little, like these Gulf streams that all came out of Spain at the same time. 2 French, a German, and then one from like Netherlands that were all kind of rolling out at the exact same time. And then down here in the Middle East, we've got C-17 rolling through. We've got another large, that's an A400, and that one looks like it's just taken off, rolled out of UAE, actually Dubai. Came out of Dubai. It's headed outbound. And then there's their Black Wolf right there. Yeah. So notice that's Iraq, down in Kuwait. These guys are operating in and out of there on a regular basis. And that's Black Wolf 11. So we've seen 12, 13, and 14. So there's either they're changing the call signs, multiple aircraft. I'm not really sure yet. So we're still trying to figure that one out. But the other thing I saw this morning was a Russian, there it is right there, Russia is actually chilling out over here in this general area. Looks like they're now flying back out, but they were visiting, I guess, paying homage to somebody. And then here, this was looks like they're coming inbound now, but we had these two Luxembourg AWACSs that have been out here flying routes, and same with this one. I don't know what they're doing off that coast. That's kind of off the UK, maybe an exercise or something. So, okay, and back over here to the US real fast. Looks like today is going to be a heavy trainer day from the looks of everything. Pretty heavy duty. And we'll get into San Francisco real fast. Looks like we've got a priority air transport BE-50 rolling southbound. A couple, it's a CJ-20 or C-27J. Some more trainers. So, okay, yeah, and these guys are all, look at them. They're just a sea of them. I don't know where they're headed. Graduation ceremony or something maybe. But, all right, folks. Well, listen, that's going to do it for today. You guys be safe. 3-day weekend. Stay frosty out there. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear at Monkey Werx US.